you all are, and appreciate the new time slot. I'm a little bit more awake, so hopefully this will be a little bit better session than we're used to. Anyway, we are here to talk about analytics and the audit log in Confluence Cloud as our Confluence app admin. I'll give some folks a little bit time to jump on in. $90 in September, Chad. I am sorry, my friend. That is way too warm. Tushar, good to see you. Luckily, it is not that hot out here. All right, getting just a couple things set up. We'll give folks another moment before we jump into our content. And a quick poll. So just a quick poll on last session. What is not part of an automation? So which one of these things is not an actual step in an automation you can add? And Chad, congrats on being a member for 3 months. 3 months of caffeine. I'm glad it is worth it. All right, folks, we're going to jump on in, and folks can join us as we go. Click 2 more buttons. So, quick way of introduction. My name is Rob. Been in Atlassian since about 2013 and never had any training. So, especially on the admin side, I've been thrown into admin roles, which I think many of us have as well, and just been expected to figure it out, which is challenging for an end user, but especially for an admin, someone in that role can be even harder because we have a lot of responsibility beyond just know which buttons to push and what to do there. Now, as usual, please subscribe if you haven't, but also hit the like button. That will help other people find this particular video. A little thumbs up down at the bottom there. And also you'll notice under my head, I'm being sponsored by Service Rocket, which is has a program called Crew Members. I'm actually one of these folks and some are other people as well. A great program to find work in the Atlassian ecosystem. So they are constantly looking for individuals with different skill sets for part-time contract work, working on Atlassian stuff. So if you're certified and interested, check out that link and I'll be dropping it in the chat as we go. But definitely worth checking out if you're looking for a little bit more work here and there. Also, you can save and share this. So if there's other folks you work with who can benefit from this, definitely worth taking a minute, saving it, and sending it along to them. A quick review from last time. Automations exist in Confluence, and they exist at essentially 3 scope levels. Global impacts everything which app admins can make, so every space will trigger it. Morning, Sarah. Good to see you. You can do single space, which space admins can make, and as an app admin, we can also make them multi-space, which is useful. We can automate almost anything. I say almost because there can be some limitations. But when we have tasks that we want to not have to do manually, the system can do them for us, which is great. And there are 4 parts or 4 potential steps in an automation: triggers, actions, conditions, and branches. So in this little pull, logic is not an automation step, or at least the name of an automation step. Branching, though, is one of those ones that I find very challenging and is honestly one that I use the least. Branching can be useful if you have like child pages, or you need the automation to run for every type of thing. So every time you find a whiteboard, run it again, or on the Jira side, every subtask. And that's where automations can be cross-platform. Our automations can trigger in Confluence, but then do something in Jira. For example, if I make a page that mentions sprint, automatically kick off a new sprint or make a new Jira work item, and vice versa. I use this frequently on the Jira side. When I close a certain work item type or close a sprint, go make a new page in Confluence. And last, again, the non-technical aspect of our systems, we need to be proactive. We as admins need to be talking to our team about, hey, what do you want to automate, or what's a problem, or what do you find challenging, or what do you need help with? And then we need to go do that. So we can't rely on our team to just come up to us and say, hey, here's what we want to automate. We have to be going to them saying, what do you need? Now here is our Atlassian exam breakdown. You'll hear me call this the ACP-220. That is what the testing company calls it. So it's really called the Cloud App Admin. I think I put the wrong name here. But we're looking at the monitoring Confluence and site performance chunk at this point. When I sat the exam, this for me was one of the most, I won't say confusing, but least familiar, because I just had the least hands-on experience in a big environment. So even though it was only 7% of the exam, it probably took up a lot more of my mental bandwidth. So if you're not familiar with these types of tools with monitoring site performance or admin logs or that kind of thing, it might be worth taking a little bit extra time to pop in here and just see, what's going on. Can I copy this link? I cannot copy this link. Okay, fine. I'll figure that out in a minute. And this is my note to teleport into Confluence. And that's not at all where I meant to go. I meant to go here. I will drop this link. It's the learning path for this particular chunk. Under our certifications, of course, then down under the ACP. While I'm doing this, I will be at Team starting this Thursday. I've got some other things I'm doing over in Europe. So there will not be a session the next 2 Mondays. And I'll keep reminding folks about this. But you've got 2 weeks of study hall. Please enjoy it. We'll be back on the 20th, I think it is. And I'll remind folks as we go. All right. Now, there's going to be some tools that, as app admins, we will think look very familiar to other tools that we're familiar with, and that's true. So mission control is one of these. Now, as a space admin, we get mission control, but the only thing we see is information about the space we happen to be in. So this is another example of scope. The scope of a space admin is just constrained to the space they're in. They can take action and see and do things in their space. The scope of an app admin is everything. So they see everything in the instance. So when we pop open mission control, we're not just looking at information about any particular space. We're looking at information across everything. Let me go, I'm trying to think of another good one here. Curious for folks who do use mission control, if you use it and what your favorite part is. I believe it's premium and higher. I'm trying to remember the exact cutoff. This is Confluence Cloud Premium, and I'm going to show us this in a space first. So I've got a space here, and I can open up my space settings. And my Zoom broke for some very annoying reason. That's a very long error message that I can't fix right now. But this is our mission control in a space. This is very, very useful, and it's something I wish I had a lot sooner when I started using Confluence, because it gives us metrics and insight into how the space is being used. Here I get things like content. I get things like what access features are turned on, who the space admins are, but more useful at the bottom, I get activity. How have people been interacting with this? And this is where, for me, it gets much more useful, because without this type of information, all I understand is, oh, people tell me they're using this. People happen to have been in here. This is telling me exactly what is being viewed and how much. 13 page views, 3 dashboard views. And we can see, wow. We dropped to 0. I think I know what happened there. But then down at the bottom, things like inactive pages, pages without active owners, and then security, our active links. So everything in here is very, very useful to managing and maintaining a space. Excuse me. And it makes it much easier for me as an admin to keep track of what's going on. Now, at a space level, this is great because it allows me to figure out what's happening. But at an instance level, it's even better because I can see across everything. So all I did was click on my little Confluence admin gear, and you'll notice the screen looks similar, but all the numbers are different. And there's even like suggestions and other things we can be using. So now I'm zoomed up. It's saying across all of this Confluence instance, I have 506 content items and 52 spaces. Also at the admin level, we get information on searches, which to me is really, really useful, honestly, because we can see what people are typing into the search bar and if they're clicking on links. So this tells me, is my content aligned with what people are looking for? And if I see a lot of searches that have no clicks, that suggests either my team is looking for something in the wrong spot, or my content needs better naming, better keywords, better structure to help get those people to what they need. Everything in here will look very similar, but again, it's across everything. I get the most viewed spaces. I get content created across everything. How much total content exists. And for me, the interesting stuff is down at the bottom. Now, a lot of the metrics we see here are going to be just pulled in from the analytics tool, which we'll take a look at in a minute. But it gives me a lot of powerful things that I can use to take immediate action. Again, inactive pages. This is a list of things that, and it's even suggesting I should review pages in these spaces. And if I click on these, it should show me the space so I can dig in more. Without this tool, I would have to, as a human, like dig around and find these things, which just makes it hard. Like you can do this, but these built-in analytics make it much easier for me as an admin to take proactive action to help support the team. And here I have some searches, so I'll just quickly go to this real quick because I was talking about it. But I can see people search for JQuil. This is my made-up term for JQL. 6 times, one person searched for it and no one clicked on it. So that tells me there's something wrong with this term, or there's something wrong with the pages that have that information on it. Here I can see someone looking up, it looks like an ace in Warsaw, I think. 2 searches in 1 click, so a little bit more successful. Here I have Space Map, had 1 search in 1 click. So just an example of, again, very bad dummy data. More on Justin. But a way that I, as the admin, can help support the content by seeing what doesn't work or by seeing what does work. And without this analytic tool, without this mission control, I can't figure that out. And then at the bottom, especially at the app level, we get like the active links. This is also important. Taking a look at these 2 charts, if I see a big spike in public links, I might want to go talk to my team and just see why. Or if I see a massive drop-off or spike or movement in these, it might be a suggestion I need to dig in more and see what's happening. So this is the mission control tool. I think it's just premium and up. Hopefully they're expanding it, but if you have access to it, it will simplify a lot around just keeping an eye on things and analyzing how people are using your site, which again, without this is challenging. I will also call out there are apps and add-ons that do something similar. So there are other tools that do this, but in terms of stock baseline Confluence, this is what we have. Ooh, YouTube ads. Beautiful. Thank you for letting me know, Tushar. That's sweet, sweet ad revenue. The ones of dollars that brings in. Okay, yeah, and it's premium enterprise only, of course. All right. Now, it does have these alerts, which we briefly saw. We've got these suggestions. So it's saying like, oh, you can manage things. So it will pop up to the top things that you should be aware of, or at least things that the system thinks you should know about. It's kind of up to you to determine how useful these are. But anytime I see these suggestions pop up and I have a few minutes, I'm drinking a cup of coffee or something, I might take a look and either hit try now or say, you know what, I know about this. I'm just going to get rid of it. And I don't believe we get this at the space level. So that's the difference between the app admin and the space admin. For mission control, you get the alerts. We had that overview section. Again, the main takeaway with mission control is 1, it exists, and 2, what is it useful for? It's useful for flagging things that might need our attention as admins, and it will give us guidance on where we need to dig in. What should we go look at next, or what should we talk to the team about, or let them know about to help us figure things out? Tushar. Questions. Yep, I'm waiting for a good break, Tushar, to answer questions, especially when they don't directly relate to what I'm talking about. And I'm basing this on feedback from what I've heard. I'm trying to keep consistent until I have a minute to break. So unless your question directly relates to what I'm talking about in the moment, I'm not going to pause and stop. I'll wait until I go between sections to answer them, or wait till the end. I do see it. We just got to wait, though. The suggestions, again, let us quickly take actions. Okay, great. Honestly, I don't know how impactful these will be to our day-to-day lives. These will pop up and we'll look at them. They might be useful. They might not be. They call these summary cards. Again, just digging into the names. In terms of if you're sitting the exam, I don't know if the term summary card will necessarily appear, but there are those pieces of information up at the top that dig into external features, Confluence admins, that kind of thing. And again, for me, the important part is the activity. It's telling us what's happening in our instance so we can then go take action, which before this tool, it was hard for us to do because we didn't have these numbers. All right, now I'll get to that question, Tushar. Thank you for your patience. The certifications are entirely different. They can cover similar content. For example, the 920, which is the associate version for Confluence, will talk about things like pages and editing, but it's not necessarily just like an extract of the professional series. Now, the way they've set up their learning is you might see the same lessons show up in both because the content can be the same, but they are intended for different audiences. So it's not just they didn't just take the ACP-220 and pull out 5 things and make the ACP-920. They are completely separate. They were designed separately. They have different intended uses and different intended people. So a lot of work goes into figuring out who should take each of them, and they are separate people. All right, space report. Thank you, Frank. In general, anything with the P is more about the admin side of the house. Now, as an app admin, we also get more information on how much storage we're sucking up. And I'll go grab a link real quick. This does not... for folks on enterprise, amount of storage is something we just need to be tacitly aware of, but it's not like we're going to run out of storage. But on lower level tiers, we run out, for example, at premium 250 gigabytes of storage. And then down at free, we get 2 gigabytes of storage. It's something as an admin we just need to keep an eye on, even if we're on plans that have unlimited storage like premium and enterprise. Because the size of our footprint can become unwieldy. We as admins have to maintain it all. But most folks, most of the time, it's not too impactful. I'll keep an eye on particular spaces if they're growing quite a bit, or if I see a lot of large attachments just magically appear. That can be challenging, and it also suggests that maybe some people are uploading things that they shouldn't. But we as admins do have some control over... Oh, where is it? Attachment size. I think it's under general. Here we go. So under the general settings, we can set the maximum file attachment size, which, let's see. This is what, 100 megabytes? No. If anyone's good at math, what number is this? This number of bytes. That many bytes is my current default size. So we want to set a ceiling, and this is useful both to conserve our storage space, but also to prevent people from uploading massive files that shouldn't maybe live in Confluence, either due to security or just due to the size of the file. We can monitor our spaces. Where is this? Data management space reports. Excuse me. Here, and I'll quickly just create a report. Depending on the size of your instance, this will take more or less time to generate. Oh, interesting. It looks like most of us have not used mission control. I guess for the folks, I'm going to put another poll just because I'm nosy. curious why folks have not been using mission control. Just a quick 3-question. Thank you, Chad. 104 megabytes. All right, I'm going to download this thing and then go open it. So this gives us a CSV download, or I think is it a CSV or an XLSX? Nope, CSV, perfect. Of what's in the space or what's in the instance. This is not something, we would need to download on a regular basis. This might be something once in a blue moon we take a look at just to see what's going on. And let me zoom this in a lot. We get information like the space ID, the key, when it was created. Things like this creation date can be useful. We can see this in other places, but this can help tell us, is this space being used? There's also a last viewed column. So we can see in this CSV if the space is being utilized and leveraged. We can also see this in Confluence, but in excessively large environments, this type of extract can be very useful for reporting because it can tell us what's going on. It also shows us the creator, like who made the space, and if they are active or not, or if they have a license. So this gives us a lot of good information, and as an admin, we're going to want to see a lot of this. So instead, thank you, Frank. Instead of going through space by space, maybe every 6 months as an admin, I pull this report and I look for last viewed that are more than 3 months old. And then I go take some time and review each of those particular spaces to see what's going on. It also gives me the amount of storage that particular space is using. So I could just sort this entire sheet by spaces and by this column, and that will tell me, oh, this space is huge. Maybe I should go look into why. Are people using Confluence more like a file repository? And is that okay? So this gives me a lot of good information that, again, for most people is meaningless and not useful because they aren't concerned with maintaining and managing their instance. But for an admin, this is a great report. Now, it doesn't keep them forever. We get them for 7 days. So if you need to save off a copy in a shared drive somewhere or something. Okay, I kind of need a follow-up question now. For the folks who said other on the mission control question, curious if you could share in chat what the other reason is. I assumed folks just didn't have it. But you may want to save copies of these off over time. Just so you have, you can compare them. You can do an analysis of over the past year, these have changed. But again, very useful just to see what's going on, and it shows us everything that shows up in the report. We do not need to memorize the columns that exist in the report. Just be aware that a spaces report exists and that you as the app admin have access to it and can use it to manage things. Now, in addition to the space report, we also get access into macro usage. So this is how folks are using macros in our instance. And that's also under data management. And I'm not exactly sure what this will give me. Oh, because it froze up. While I'm waiting, a quick shout out to my Discord community. You may have noticed in the chat, Frank and Chad calculating out exactly how many megabytes. There's a lot of great discussion in Discord like that, not just around Atlassian certification, but about anything Atlassian and related topics. Here we go. So this is telling me what macros are being used in this instance. Depending on how you're set up, this can be more or less useful. I don't have any add-ons in here, I don't think. This is very, very useful for add-ons because you'll see if they're being unused. So if you're paying for this app or this marketplace app and no one's using it, you can see here instantly. It'll just say app name and list what someone hasn't been using. Oddly, these are out-of-the-box macros and some of them aren't even being used. And I don't know if I believe this because it's saying the expand macro is not being used. But at the bottom, we can see how many times this particular macro has been used in this instance. So the excerpt macro has been used a total of 115 times somewhere. Table of contents, 35. Create from template, 17. So this gives me instant information on how well or how are people using these macros. And I can even see this search will bring up the pages that are using this particular macro. So this is not something I know how to easily do, like figure out how are macros being leveraged outside of this report. In this URL, there's actually a CQL Confluence query language search to find it. And that's the biggest use case in my mind, Frank, is identifying how are marketplace apps being used. And again, as an app admin, I need to consider that. I need to be constantly thinking, our company is paying for blank app. Are we leveraging it? Are we getting money out of it? And that might be something every 6 months I go in and I take a look at this macro report and I ask myself, hey, are we actively using it? And is it worth paying for? Or is it worth being used? This, I believe, is the number right after this. So excerpt 9 is the number of pages that have it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So I don't believe it's the number of individual instances. I believe it's the number of pages, but let's test this. I'm going to open this up and I'm going to add expand. What I'm expecting to happen, or what I hope happens, is we now get 10 uses of expand. I'll just click update. Yep, so we're still sitting at 9. So either it's taking a while to update or it's just saying that it shows up on these pages. So it's not opening up the page, to Frank's point, and counting, oh, there's 10. It's just saying it's on this page. For me, that's a pretty good count of the use, or a pretty good way to look at it. It's also, I'm just trying to think how many times I've seen individual macros used multiple times on one page. You know, table of contents, for example, maybe there's a few on a page, but probably not. So most macros, most of the time, will have 1, maybe 2 uses. Things like excerpt, things like page properties, you know, things like expand might be used multiple times, or maybe not. Did I put the wrong one in? Hang on. I think I put an expand and not an excerpt. Let me just go stupidity check this. Excerpt. And now we go down a rabbit hole. Still 9. What I'll do is see if I can test and confirm and follow up over in Discord. So check that Discord link if you want to see some exciting follow up on how the macro usage report works. And even here in the learning, we're seeing, hey, the use cases go figure out, is this marketplace app being used? And this is where we can do that. Again, this is something that every 6 months we would want to look at. And that's a good use case too, Shar. You know, if you're going from DC to cloud or straddling instances, this can help you keep an eye on it. I don't think it gives you like over time metrics. It's just saying as of right now. So you'd want to check this every month or so and like record the numbers somewhere. All right, importing and exporting. This is something that I don't have much background with, so it was new to me. But we can back up Confluence. Space admins have a limited access to do this. They can you can export a site or export a space, but we get a little bit more in here. Now, Confluence Cloud in the background does a backup every 24 hours. Don't quote me on this, but I wouldn't necessarily bet the farm, to use the phrase. I wouldn't rely solely on this if we're concerned about backing things up. I know there are marketplace apps and other tools that help make sure you can back up and restore on demand. So if you're in an environment that has a lot of concerns over backing things up and being able to restore, you're going to want to dig deeper into this topic. But out of the box, we have the ability to perform some data management and some backup. Now, it's telling us we only get one of them. You can only have one backup file stored at a time, so please keep that in mind. This isn't going to be like, for example, earlier in my career, we had multiple tapes and multiple tape backups, so we could back up to certain points in time. This is not that. This is a single backup we are allowed to have. So back in here, we're just going to Backup Manager. And we have two options. I love how Confluence Server is still referenced here. And I'm saying that because Confluence Server was experienced its end of life. The term you might see is deprecated or is no longer available. I think last year, if not further back in time. So Server doesn't really exist anymore in the way that it used to, but it still lives on here in case folks need to migrate. What we're looking at here is the one in the bottom, which is our Restoring Confluence Cloud Backup. And I can just push Create Backup, and it's going to generate this for me. Like many things, this depends on the size of our instance. And so this can take more or less time to become available. So we're not going to sit here and watch, unless people want to sit here and watch this. Let me go find my screen and drop in a quick poll. And I will drink some coffee because I need a very slight coffee break. I mean this as a joke. I hope everyone clicks no. It is dead, Justin. On a more serious note, Data Center has also announced its end of life. This won't happen until 2029. Let me go find... So if your organization is using Data Center, just be aware that they are starting to spin it down, so to speak. Is this it? Here it is. I will put a link to a lot more information. Well, two of you have said yes, let's watch processing. We're not going to do that. So check out that Data Center end of life. And another shout out to my friends over at Service Rocket with their crew member program. This is great for folks who are looking for part-time contracting work. I am doing this, and it's what is allowing me to get away from my 9-to-5, which has been amazing, and do more stuff like this. So an easy way to support the channel, just hit that link and let Service Rocket know you came and said hi. Is that link malformed? Hang on. There we go. There's an extra space in there. Check out this second link on becoming a crew member. All right, so this is where we can create our backups. There's a lot more information on what's going on. Keep in mind there are limitations on importing. I'll ignore the stuff on server. If your Atlassian site has both Confluence and Jira, site import isn't available, of course. To import the site, you got to do one space at a time. This drives me crazy because most people have both. So this is another instance of we're doing this as it like an emergency, in case of emergency break of glass, that kind of thing. But there are some limits on what is possible. This particular limitation, if you have both Confluence and Jira, might show up on that exam. So something to be aware of. And you can go space by space. Now, there are tools if you are migrating from, say, data center to cloud, like a full-scale migration, that get around this kind of thing. But that's where this tool is not intended to be, used lightly, so to speak. This is intended more of, hey, there was a catastrophic problem and we have to restore from the tape backup. All right, I'm going to get rid of that question on watching the processing icon. And I'm probably going to get an alert at some point telling me my site is ready for backup. All right, application links. These are the things that show up on the left-hand side. So if I go into Confluence real quick, if I click on the app selector and then scroll down, these links at the bottom. There's one to Jira, one to Confluence. Now, as an app admin, we have some control over these. Also, under data management, I don't know if these necessarily, like I would call an application link data, but this is where we can call them like universal shortcuts, where if there's something our team across the board, everyone in the instance would access, we can give them access. By default, Jira and Confluence should show up, and those just appear. We can also restrict them, so only certain groups see certain links. This can be very useful if your groups are maintained and managed properly. For example, if I have data analysts and they have a special data analyst tool and I have a group for them, I can put that link in their app navigator and they can find it. Here, let me drop this in. So just as an example, I'm adding in that Service Rocket link. And I now have a crew members link down here in the bottom. This is useful because it makes these links available to everyone. However, you have to tell people that these links exist. And I say that because when I was using Jira and Confluence a lot, or as I use it, I forget that there are links underneath all of the apps. Like you have to scroll down, especially if you have a lot of apps, and find these links way down here. So if you're using this, make sure you educate your team. And that's just a general thing about being an app admin. We have to tell people, hey, this information exists and here's why you should go use it. But these are application links. Again, very useful for helping speed up and helping people find things. And we can add, I actually don't know if there's a limit to how many we can add. Justin or Chad, you feel like trying to break something for me? And if you do, post the link in Discord. From time to time, I find things like this where I don't know what the upper limit is, and it's fun to go see how many we can cram in there. Linked applications automatically appear. Now, a linked application would be like Jira. So I can see in this screenshot, there are multiple Jira instances connected. Those just appear automatically. I've got Jira UK and Acme Jira. And then there's others that we have added on our own. So it does give us some flexibility, to gate it by group or other things. Ooh, thank you for the more depth, Frank. What Frank is calling out here is there are applications like this other Jira that they can just log into instantly, but we can also add manual ones where there's no particular login. So we can add our own links, or some of them can automatically appear if the application is linked. Again, I personally haven't used this all that much, mainly because I forget that these things exist at the bottom of my app selector. And that's just a weakness in how I happen to use Confluence. Restoring spaces. Let me go find another poll. What's the word I'm looking for here? There we go. I'll do this. Now, to restore a deleted space, we have to have a deleted space. So the question in the poll is more around how frequently do you go in and prune or get rid of, spaces you don't need. This process of deletion and archival for me is much more common at the space level. Space admins should be going into their space and picking off content that is no longer needed, coming in here and doing things like deleting or archiving, just to clean up the content hierarchy in the space. We as org admins, though, have the ability, we as app admins, misspoke there, we can go in and get rid of spaces. So we can both delete spaces, but we can also archive them. I don't know if I have any trash spaces. I do not. Let's go trash a space. So first I'm going to go find, let's get rid of jquill2. So I have the ability to archive the space, which I'll start with this. And this is like a 3-step, are you sure, are you sure, are you sure? This now archives the space. So everything is hidden from basic navigation and search. This doesn't mean that the space is gone. It still can be found if we go into our search and our advanced search and show archived content. So here I can still see it. And if I open it up, oh, it doesn't give us the bar. That's annoying. Archived content should have this content is archived. But if I go back to my search and I get rid of this filter, I should not be able to find this. Okay, I was incorrect. That is good to know. I'll have to dig more into this. But this archive space now lives in my space archive. Which I can find in searching for all spaces. And I have exactly one under this name, thankfully. From here I can go into space settings. And I can restore it. So again, similar to archiving content, I'm not getting rid of it. It's, in my mind, it's like in a library putting the box in a back room so no one sees it. But I can return it back to wherever it was. The other option is to send the space to trash. And you'll notice the big red box, and it's reminding me, hey, are you sure you don't want to archive this? That might be a better idea. Now, space admins can unarchive their spaces. Trash spaces, only app admins can do this. And the big difference between spaces and content is spaces are automatically deleted after 2 months or 60 days. So keep in mind that this is a big difference. Archived content does not auto-delete. Archived spaces do. So if I send this to trash, and again, it's a 2-click, are you sure, are you sure? Now it's really gone. General users will not be able to find this kind of period full stop. But it does show up under my trash spaces as the app admin. Now all it's going to give me here is the space key, when it was moved there, and when it's going to be permanently gone. Oh, Chad, try and break how many application links we can have. As the app admin, I can just delete it right now, or I can restore it. I can put it back wherever it was. Now, looks like most of us do not prune out old spaces. This is something that as groups use Confluence longer and longer, more and more spaces exist, to the point where there can be thousands or tens of thousands. As an admin, this is another important part of our job. Every so often go in and identify spaces that aren't being used. Use that space report we saw earlier to identify spaces that haven't had an update date in the past few months, and then to go in and get rid of them, or to go update them, or to archive them. What we want to avoid is after a few years of using Confluence, dozens or hundreds of spaces that are just derelict, not being used at all. And that's where it's on us as the admins to educate our space admins to shut down their spaces as they go, but also for us as the space admins to go in and proactively remove things. Now, we don't just want to do this. I wouldn't just delete this space. I would go find the owner and say, hey, Rob, just a heads up. It looks like this space, JQL2, isn't being used. I'm going to go get rid of it. All right, Chad, thank you. But we can then just drop them in the trash. And if no one screams, which is the joke, if we delete it and no one complains, in 60 days, it's just gone. And so that's how we can help get rid of things we don't need. We can permanently delete, and we might want to archive. So this is something else to keep in mind, especially if there is information we want to hang on to, or there's something we might want to use in the future, a project space that we might have to take a look at lessons learned, or something we could get use of in the future, archive instead of delete. All right, troubleshooting and auditing. Figuring out who can see and do what is another very common thing, and one of the easiest frustrations in any system. Why can Chad do something but I cannot? I'm going to take a quick coffee break, but if y'all have a minute, hit the like button. That is the simplest way to help me out, or hit this link for the crew member program. And again, this is through Service Rocket. They're an Atlassian partner, and it's more information on how to find part-time contract work in Atlassian gigs, which is great. And Chad, best of luck with the 120. Let us know how it goes, my friend. And let us know how we can support you over in Discord. Whether it's just cheering you on, helping you study, I'll be happy to pop on a call and, quiz you on things. Whatever will be helpful. All right. Get a high-level view of what users can see and do. We have the ability as admins to see individuals' access, which is great, or groups. So who can see or do what? And this lets us both troubleshoot things, but proactively figure out, hey, Frank, can Frank view this? He should not be able to. Is that okay? Kind of questions. Excuse me. And this for me was a wonderful tool. I'll show you a screenshot and then we'll go do it live. But I can see right here, this person, Andrea, has access to Confluence, to a space, and to a page. I can also check what permission they have. Can they only view it? Can they edit it? Can they comment? I wish I knew about this sooner, honestly. It's one of the most useful tools I have as an admin that I use on a daily basis. So we're just going to pop in and take a look at this because it is so useful. So it's under user access on the left here. And I'll find myself and just see what happens. I'll download the CSV report just so we can see what that looks like. But I can pick a certain piece of content. I'm just going to hope I can find one. Let's say Jake will. Perfect. This whiteboard. I want to see if I can view this whiteboard. Yes, I can. And then it's going to show me every level of Confluence. And it's going to tell me why. Yes, Robert has access to Confluence. Great. Next, can I view the space? Yes. And it also gives me contacts. So I can click contact Confluence admins to send them a message. Or I can contact the space admins. And it's trying to open up my email on the other screen. And then I can dig down to the page. I can contact the author. So this is where, as an admin, I can help figure out, hey, what can Chad see and do? And then I can figure out how to get him help. I can say, oh, go talk to Rob to unrestrict the page. And then I can also do things on can he edit the page or can he comment? So different levels of access, and I can dig in and see where it breaks, essentially. I'm going to quickly grab the CSV that I downloaded. This is the same information, just in a table. Now, this is something we don't need to do very frequently because it's all of the access for this individual. So this is every space and what access does Rob have and what can he do. So I can see the access level I have and what group gave that to me. Now, because I'm an app admin in here and an org admin, I kind of get access to everything. But it lets me know, how did I get access to this space? And what's the status of the space? So a very easy way to figure out what's going on with any given individual. And I can get rid of that now. Now, next we've got the audit log. This can be confusing, or rather overwhelming. The audit log logs every event that occurs in the system. So what we're seeing here is just a chronological list from most recent to least recent of events that have occurred. So at the top, we deleted that space. It's listing all of that. Space marked as deleted. Space archived. It tells me who did it. It tells me what was affected, and I can get a little bit more information if it exists. The system will take action, adding users to groups or removing users from groups. This will record itself for up to a year. I can't go back more than a year, but I can keep shorter logs. You can export these, and you can automatically export these using various integrations. So many groups have other logging tools that they export all of these logs into so they can analyze them. However, as an app admin, we can go in here and untangle what maybe happened. One thing to be aware of is we have a search function, so we can go in and look for the term, the word key to see what might have happened. Or maybe I want who used the admin key to access content. Some global settings changed. So this is how we as admins keep an eye across the whole system, what goes on. There can be questions on the exam around what particular type of entry are you looking for in here. For example, something around an automation, and there's nothing. Okay. Definitely worth poking around in. The more familiar we are with what's in here, the stronger, better, faster we are. But be aware that the audit log exists, and pretty much everything gets logged, especially around access and permissions. So if I log in as someone else, that gets recalled. And the default settings, no more than 12 months. So that's where if we need to audit outside that, we have to use some kind of other tool to pull it out. And we also have a list of what it records. Now, this is mostly at the space level, but it doesn't record content on the space or blog edit. That's all done on the page history level. So it's not going to record, oh, Robert updated a version of this page. It's going to record, hey, a page was archived, or someone with the admin key broke into it to view it. Other things like global settings. So again, as the app admin, we're at the global level, so everything we see and interact with will be at the global level. Then there's some tips on basic troubleshooting. That view user access tool is probably one of the most useful things we get as app admins, just because we can see it. The audit log as well, we can kind of untangle what happened. But again, typically I'm not digging into the audit log too much. It's more useful in cases where there are serious questions or concerns over what happened or when. And then finding solutions, I like that. Having trouble finding a solution, look for answers in your organization's knowledge base. Oh, sorry, that's kind of funny. I just get a kick out of this because most of the problems I have with Confluence, I can't answer inside my own Confluence. All right, folks, that is all on our analyzing access. What was this one called again? And figuring out what's going on. Definitely check out the learning path. I'll drop that. Can I share this link instantly? Maybe not. I'll back up and share a link to the top of this and show you where we are. Another quick poll. Just when is our next session? And this is super duper important. When is our next session? Pop quiz for everyone who is paying attention. Wait, that's not what I wanted. That's the org admin. Go away. That one. And this link. Yes, our next session is the 20th. So please click that button. It'll be at 6 a.m. And we'll just continue learning about Confluence. Next week, I am out. I will be at Team, which will be fun. And be on the lookout for, live content, recorded content from me at Team. If you are going to Team, let me know. Reach out to me on Discord, and I'll drop the Discord link here. Come find me on LinkedIn. I want to meet folks. I want to see people because I stare at this screen most of the time and I don't get to see anyone, and that makes me sad. There's my LinkedIn. Join us in Discord. And this is that Service Rocket page I was talking about. Take a look at this. Easiest ways you can support me now that I'm a professional creator. Hit the like button if you haven't. We're looking at 16 people and 4 likes. Let's see if we can get that number a little higher. But also, let my friends at Service Rocket know you heard about me. Otherwise, thank you all for learning with me about Confluence. I enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun learning about it and earning the certification. I hope it's useful to all of y'all. I have plenty of other resources around it if you're curious. But that is all for this week, and I will see everyone in 3 weeks. Whoa, it's going to be weird not being on this thing quite so much. But between now and then, please keep studying, please keep engaging. Review the recording. It is available on YouTube in case you missed it, and through Atlassian Community, the same place you signed up for this, it'll probably be there. But thank you all again. I'll leave the chat open for a couple minutes while I close some things up. But drop any last minute questions or anything else you might need in there, and I'll be happy to help you out. Questions, Chad. I am planning on taking the Jira Project Cloud Admin, and I'll be taking that on the Tuesday. And Wednesday, yes, let us know. Yeah, I get into Barcelona on Monday, and I'll be taking an exam on Tuesday, so I need to prepare for that. It would help if I study. I should take my own advice. Thank you, Dom. Appreciate it. All right, team. Y'all have a great day wherever you are, and I look forward to seeing you hopefully in person in Europe. But if not, I will see you on the 20th.